Hello and a very warm welcome to ET Studio CFO Blueprint in association with ET CFO. I'm your host Divina Lasson, and on this series, we're thrilled to bring you conversations with India's leading CFOs to help us get unique insights about the journey of the modern CFO. Now, in a startup environment, the CFO plays an even more pivotal role due to the dynamic and high-risk nature of the business. Successful startup CFOs possess a unique set of traits and skills that enable them to navigate the challenges and drive financial success. So in this episode, we're here to discuss what traits make a startup CFO successful. Here to help us deep dive into this and much more are esteemed panelists Abhishek Gupta, Group CFO, Oyo Group, and Arpit, Chug, CFO, Razorpay. So gentlemen, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here to talk about a really interesting topic, which is the role of a CFO in a startup environment and how this is differentiated compared to non-startups. You both have vast careers under your belt, and we're really curious to get your input and your insights into how you see the roles of a CFO in a startup changing over time. So Abhishek, maybe we can start with you. Can you help us sort of set the context a little bit? And what would you say are some of the key and essential factors that a CFO needs to have to be an effective CEO in a startup environment?
No, thank you so much for having me. My name is Abhishek. I'm the CFO of Oyo. I would say three things which are essential ingredients of what I think is a good startup CFO, and Arpit, you should add. But first and foremost is the business partnership, right? So ability to understand the business and work closely with the business owners in driving growth, because in a startup environment, growth is life. And that is most important. And unless you're enabling and driving growth along with the team, you can only go that far. Second is building teams, right? Because since every department, including finance, is at formative stage, so ability to recruit and retain top quality talent, which can grow along with the growth of the company, is a core requirement, for a startup leader, be it CFO or CEO or any leader. And finally, particular to the CFO, I think making sure that right from the word go, the governance pillars are in place, so that when you scale further, the org, you are not going in a direction which will cause issues later. So having those core fundamentals right in place early on is very important. Absolutely. So I would say these three things: business partnership, building teams, and governance pillars.
Great, thank you. Arpit, let's get you in on this. And also in addition to sort of the key factors that go behind a CFO in a startup environment, what are some of the personal traits in your experience that you think a CFO needs to have?
No, that's a great question, Devna. To introduce myself, I'm Arpit Chug, the CFO at Razorpay. And to pick up from what Abhishek spoke about, right, to make all of that happen, I think you need the following 2 or 3 personal traits. One, extremely strong decision making. Unlike large established companies where there has been precedents, processes in place, there is a lot of new stuff being thrown at everybody in a startup day in, day out. So the ability to make decisions with strong conviction is extremely important. The second thing is the ability to deal with change. There is constant change happening. I mean, if I think about my 4 years at Razorpay, the employee base is now 5x of what it was. Financial and valuation metrics are 10, 15 times of what they were a few years ago. So what that means from the systems you need, the processes you need, the kind of people you need constantly is changing. So you have to be comfortable with change. And lastly, you need a lot of energy. You are working with young, ambitious, smart founders and other, people in the org. And to, go toe to toe with them, you need a lot of energy.
Absolutely. In addition to that, also, what would you say are some of the key finance functions and expertise that a CFO in a startup environment needs to excel at?
Sure. So I think one of the aspects that all CFOs in different ways will get involved in is fundraising. And fundraising is not just about the narrative and storytelling of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build, but also think about when is the right time, how much to raise. Unlike a public market, every fundraise is a bit of a customized, contract, right? So rights, obligations. So I think, that's a skill that a startup CFO definitely needs. The second thing, I'll answer it a little differently, that in a large company, you'll have a treasury expert, a tax expert, and as CFOs, we all have a little bit of understanding of each of those functions, and hopefully we are experts in some of them. But you have to have some basic understanding of every aspect, because in a startup, you'll go through the journey where you do not have the team size and scale to support all of that. So I think those are a couple of things that come to mind.
All right, thank you. So, Abhishek, just taking from what Arpit's pointed out, of course, fundraising is a huge aspect of the duty and responsibility of a CFO in a startup. But how do you also kind of ensure that the growth and the stability factors kick in the face of funding winters? And this is something we've seen a lot of in the last year. So as a CFO, how do you navigate those times?
No, I think post-COVID, we have seen a resurgence in demand, whether it is revenge travel or whatever you may call it. But we have seen business grow back to normal and beyond, whether it is a market in India or Southeast Asia or our vacation homes business in Europe. We became EBITDA profitable last year, and this year, every quarter, we are growing into further into our earnings. So we are seeing both growth, unit economics stronger, and operating leverage kick in. So yeah, exciting times to be in travel and hospitality.
Yeah, fantastic. So Arpit, you started by telling us a bit about the personal traits that a CFO needs to have in a startup environment. So just kind of like to add to that, could you highlight some of the both opportunities, but as well as the challenges that you face as a CFO in a startup vis-a-vis, a larger legacy organization?
See, I think startups, obviously, generally there are, to begin with, especially when the scale is small, there are lack of processes, structures, systems. There is a lot of change that's constantly happening, right? That I spoke about earlier. You are actually trying to measure efficiency of things that are being done for the first time, right? You don't have a history of this kind of product spans out like this over the next 10 years. So I think there are lots of challenges, even things like that Abhishek alluded to, that, in a growth environment, trying to control expenses, right, which CFOs like to do, isn't the easiest thing to do, right? I think there are challenges, but I think they pale in comparison to the opportunities and excitement that comes with, being a CFO in a startup, right? The ownership to drive things to conclusion, the ability to, build something grounds up and make it very large and meaningful. The fact that if you're a large public listed company, there's a control environment of what you can discuss, what you can't, right? But here, I think the opportunity to engage with the ecosystem, investors, potential investors, other stakeholders is immense. And therefore, there's just a massive amount of learning. It feels like you're in a masterclass every day. And I think that's really the joy.
Yeah, wonderful. I can see it. The energy is palpable, actually, in how you explain. Abhishek, let's get you in on this.
Look, I think flexibility is another thing that I will add.
Yeah.
Right, because change is the constant. Arpit said that, but businesses, teams, and business models all are going through the change. I'll also add perseverance. Yes. You would see highs and lows, and the highs will be higher than what you will see in a stable company, right, and the lows would be lower than what you would see otherwise. So having a resilient persona for yourself and your teams and your business model is very important, because you will get tested, I think, and we did. So I think that is important.
Absolutely. So how do you navigate this environment where, like you were saying, growth comes first, of course, for every startup, but the whole growth versus profitability conundrum, really, how do you as a CFO navigate that in a startup?
No, that is most important. It has always been important. It becomes more important in the times when liquidity is not that freely available.
Yeah.
And it helps in the sense you again focus on unit economics. You focus on which growth is EBITDA accretive and which growth is dilutive.
Yeah.
And you make those decisions based on EBITDA accretive growth and cash accretive growth. And that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years now. So I think that decision is the heart of everyday debate that the CFO has with their operating counterparts.
Yes, absolutely. And Arpit, no conversation about a startup, well, actually any organization at this point, but definitely a startup can be had without talking about technology, right? So from a CFO's point of view, what role does technology play in in helping you be effective, efficient? And are there any specific tools that you would recommend as go-to tools that make a big difference in your role?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Let me actually answer it a little bit broadly. I think I look at technology not just for the finance organization, but one of the most critical roles of the CFO is deciding allocation for the business, right? Capital allocation. And for a tech-enabled startup, what is that? That is, how do we staff our technology team, our R&D team on various projects where there is opportunity, right? So understanding technology becomes extremely important, right? Things like, understanding the developer productivity, right? Software engineers, what kind of work requires what kind of developers, what is the main cost of goods for a tech company? It's the infrastructure costs, right? Probably one of the most opaque pricings of any product in the world is cloud costs, right? So understanding how that works, etc. So to make good, effective business decisions, capital allocation decisions, understanding technology for, I think, any CFO is important, but particularly for startups, I think it takes even greater importance. And coming to the finance organization, as I talked about the fact that the organization, when it grows, right, the needs of the organization change, so the needs of the finance organization to support that change. And that's where you have to think about when is the right time to bring in what level of ERP in the system, what kind of tools are out there that will make life, easy and efficient. And I think one thing that happens is, I think when you're growing as a company, a lot of product and service providers definitely approach you because, large established companies are probably not very, are not going to change into new technology easily. But I think startups are also more amenable because, they're just more comfortable with technology. So I think there is certainly technology has a big role to play in a CFO's life in a startup every day.
Yeah, and if you can use that to democratize data, right, across the levels in the operations team, right? We used to say, "Jo dikhta hai, wohi fix hota hai," right?
That's right.
So if everybody can see their metrics, their KPIs on their mobile devices, then that tool can be the most productive for the best outcome for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly what I was going to ask you about. Any specific tools that you would say are must use and that really kind of enhance and help your roles?
No, I mean, there are lots of them, right? Depending on what your system is most easy to integrate with. There are visualization tools, there are analytics tools. The market is flooded with them. Depending on what you can implement quickly and what you will use, I think is most important.
In fact, what's happened now is that now there are tools that help you understand and manage all the tools that you're using. So, and those are very helpful.
Yes, okay. Great, thank you. So, gentlemen, something I'd like to ask both of you is, how do you as CFOs kind of keep up with the trends yourself in the world of finance, where, of course, practices and as you've just elaborated on how the startup environment is quite different from legacy companies. So how do you stay up to date with the trends, best practices, and so on for your specific roles?
I think it's all learning on the job and on the go.
Yeah.
My mantra is to hire people better than you, who are smarter than you, who know more than you, and we call them the bar raisers. Yeah. So they will bring up the level of the entire team, and you learn from them. And then obviously, you have advisors and friends who keep feeding you information on new developments happening. Yes. So it becomes a challenge to prioritize and pick up where you want to spend your time. But having the right team, I think, is the answer.
Yep.
Great points, Abhishek. I think I'll add a couple. I think being open to the fact that finance processes and tools are constantly changing and we need to stay abreast of them, I think is extremely important. And therefore, I feel that the need to constantly meet people who are pitching these innovative tools, I think is worth taking the time, and that kind of gives you a sense of what's going on. The second, to the point on team hiring, right? I think the finance organization structure has also changed a bit, right? There was a time when it was all finance first, who know a bit of tech as well, and now we are also bringing in people in the organization who are probably tech first, but are also learning aspects of finance, and I think that helps us kind of elevate our game as well. And I think as far as overall processes are concerned, I think working and being connected with the CFO or heads of finance communities across companies, I think really helps as well.
Well, gentlemen, as we slowly come to a close, just any tips that you have for the CFO community out there in the startup space on how to really kind of hone in on being a CFO in the startup environment and excelling at their roles? Just a key takeaway.
So I did share some personal traits in the beginning, but if I had to summarize it, I would say lead like a founder's mindset, where Abhishek talked about growth is important, but then you bring in your expertise on unit economics, profitability, compliance, to bring all of that together.
Right, great, fantastic. Abhishek?
Business first.
Yeah.
Growth first is what I would say.
Yes. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Before we wrap up, we have a bit of a rapid fire round to go through with both of you, if you're open for that, just to kind of understand a little bit more about your perspective on the world of finance and also who you are as leaders. So just quick one-liners, one word actually answers from each of you, okay? Let's give it a shot. Your strongest skill in finance?
FP&A.
Business partnering.
All right, great. Your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Travel.
Yeah.
Spending time with my daughters.
Sure, fantastic. If you were to write a book, what would it be about?
Balance every day.
Wow, great.
Maybe it's already been written in some context, but I would love to talk about how microeconomics is relevant to real life.
Yes, great, fantastic. How do you de-stress as leader?
Meet my friends and my 8-year-old son.
Yes.
That is my stress buster.
Awesome. Arpit?
Yeah, I would say spending time with family and watching TV.
Okay. And how do you kickstart your day? What's the first thing you do each morning?
I drink a lot of water.
Okay. Stay hydrated. Good.
Stay hydrated. And I've been doing yoga for a while now. So I try to do some kind of exercise.
Yes. Wonderful.
I would say control my urge not to look at the phone as first thing in the morning.
Very important. Actually, that's also the next point. What keeps you optimistic when you look at your phone and you see crisis in the news, basically? What keeps you optimistic?
I think that if you have a long-term view of things, then everything is solvable.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Abhishek?
I look at the news and say we are in a better place.
Okay. Nice. What is family to you?
Everything.
Yeah. Above everything else.
Yes. How do you achieve a work-life balance?
You can't. They're integrated now.
Yes.
So you have to be comfortable with them working together. Work and life are integrated.
Yes. What's your favorite travel destination since you love to travel?
I would say mountains.
Okay.
Anywhere.
Okay.
I'm totally opposite beach.
Yes, okay.
So Maldives is a convenient, quick
Nice.
getaway.
Beautiful. All right. And finally, to summarize, one reason why you love finance.
Objective.
Okay.
I love telling stories with numbers.
Great. All right, gentlemen, thank you. That
Thank
was
you so much.
wonderful
Thank you
getting
for
to know
having
you a little
us.
bit more. The men both in the boardroom and outside. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you both here today. We hope to see you soon.
Sure. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, on that note, that's all we have for you on ET Studio CFO Blueprint in association with ET CFO. For more such in-depth conversations with India's leading CFOs, do stay tuned. Until next time, many thanks for watching.